Shalom and welcome to Temple Talk. This is Yitzhak Ruvain speaking to you from south of Jerusalem, here in the holy and beautiful land of Israel. Today is the 12th day of the month of Adar Rishon. That is 1st Adar. The year is 5784. It is February 20th, 2024. This coming Shabbat we read Parshat Tetzaveh from the book of Exodus, beginning with chapter 27, verse 20, concluding chapter 30, verse 10. All about the Bigdei Kuhuna and the Bigdei Kohen Gadol, the garments of the priesthood and the high priest, and about the inauguration ceremony, the inaugural ceremony of the kohanim, of the temple priests, and finally about the instructions for creating the Mizbeach HaZahav, the golden incense altar. We're going to be talking about all those things in detail in just a moment. But first, I'm going to mention that this Friday, which is the 14th of Purim, of Adar Rishon, is Purim Katan. Right? Normally in the month of Adar, the 14th day of Adar is Purim. And the 15th day is Shushan Purim, when Purim is celebrated in Jerusalem. But this is Adar Rishon. There are 2 Adars this year, as we know, 13 months this year in this Shana Mu'uberet, this pregnant year, as we say in Hebrew, so that in which the 13th month, the 2nd Adar, is added on, so that Passover will be celebrated in its right season, as will the other holidays. So we don't celebrate Purim in the 1st Adar, we celebrate it in the 2nd Adar. Now the 2nd Adar is actually the real Adar. It's confusing, I know. But we do make note of Purim in the 1st Adar, and this Friday, the 14th, is Purim Katan, which literally translates as Little Purim. And it is a day where certain prayers of I never can think of the word in English, tachanun, certain beseechments that we say on a normal day we don't say, which gives the day a semi-holiday atmosphere. And that is what we do on Purim Katan, and again on Shushan Purim, which is on Shabbat, a day in which we don't say Tachanun anyway. So those days are coming up, which means that we're just over a month from real Purim. And also means that we're just 2 weeks away from Adar Sheni, which is the month preceding the month of Nisan, which is the month of Passover. So in Adar Sheni, we begin serious preparations for Passover in temple times. All sorts of preparations had to be made. We'll be talking about that in the upcoming weeks for certain. And in modern times, it's also a time that we start focusing on our preparations for Passover and reading and studying certain passages from the Torah throughout the month, which will prepare us and focus us on Passover. But we're still a few weeks away from all that, so let's focus on Parshat Tetzaveh, V'ata Tetzaveh, and you will command. Let's read those first few verses in Hebrew, then in English, and I'm beginning in the book of Exodus, chapter 27, verse 20. V'ata tzitzaveh et bnei Yisrael v'yikhu elecha shemen zayit zach katit lamaor laha'alot ner tamid ba'oel moed michutz laparochet asher ala edut יערוך אותו אהרון ובניו מערב עד בוקר לפני השם חוקת עולם לדורותם מאת בני ישראל. Now you shall command the children of Israel that they shall take for you pure olive oil, pressed for illumination, to kindle a lamp continually in the tent of meeting outside the partition that is near the testimonial tablets. Aharon and his sons shall arrange it from evening until morning before HaShem, an eternal decree for their generations from the children of Israel. So we are continuing what we were studying, what we were learning last week, what we were reading, and what Hashem has been telling Moshe on the top of Mount Sinai, Har Sinai, in the 40 days, as we recall, right after the receiving of the 10 Commandments and the ceremony of acceptance that Moshe conducted right after receiving the commandments. Moshe is called by Hashem to come up to the top of the mountain, where he now is, and will be for a total of 40 days and 40 nights, and where Hashem is commanding Moshe, telling Moshe what he will be telling Israel when he gets down from the mountain. And again, it's a very fascinating concept that you and I get to hear. We get a preview of what Moshe is going to say at the end of the 40 days when he comes down from the mountain. And we may wonder why we're getting this preview, because we usually don't. We usually hear Hashem talks to Moshe and we hear it once. Whatever Hashem is saying, we hear it once. Either Hashem tells Moshe to say it, or we hear Moshe saying it to Israel. But we usually don't hear the commandment or the instructions or directions being told twice. Because everything that we're reading in these parshiot now, in Truma, which we read last week, and this week Tetzaveh, we're going to be reading again, more or less, pretty much the same, in the upcoming parshiot, when Moshe actually does convey Hashem's message to Israel. So I have what to say about that, which I'll save for perhaps next week. But anyway, just keep it in mind that you and I are privileged to be able to listen in on this very private conversation, as it were, between Hashem and Moshe. And so, picking up where we left off last week, which was the last week's parsha concluded with the instructions, the basically the blueprint, the list of materials needed for constructing the Mishkan, the Tabernacle. And now we open up Parshat Tetzaveh with talking about kindling a lamp for illumination, the pure olive oil, which will be used for the menorah. Now let's continue, because right after we learn about the olive oil that Israel will be commanded to make, we're going to read this. V'ata hakrev elech et Aharon achicha v'et banav ito mitoch bnei Yisrael lechachanu li Aharon Nadav v'avihu v'Elazar v'itamar bnei Aharon v'asita bigdei kodesh la'Aharon achicha lechavod v'letifaaret v'ata tedaber el kol chochmei lev asher מלטיב רוח חוכמה ועשו את בגדי אהרון לקדשו לחכנו לי. ואלה הבגדים אשר יעשו חושן ואפוד ומעיל וכתונת תשבץ מצנפת ואבנת ועשו בגדי קודש לאהרון אחיך ולבניו לחכנו לי. והם ייקחו את הזהב ואת התכלת ואת האגמן ואת תולעת השני ואת השש. And you, now you, bring near to yourself Aharon your brother and his sons with him, from among the children of Israel, Aaron, Nadav, and Avihu, Eleazar, and Itamar, the sons of Aharon, to minister to me. Ye shall make vestments of sanctity for Aaron your brother, for glory and for splendor. And ye shall speak to all the wise-hearted people, whom I have invested with a spirit of wisdom. And they shall make the vestments of Aaron, to sanctify him, to minister to me. These are the vestments that they shall make: a breastplate, an ephod, a robe, a tunic of a box-like knit, a turban, and a sash. They shall make vestments of sanctity for Aaron your brother and his sons, to minister to me. They shall take the gold, the turquoise, purple, and scarlet wool, and the linen. And then the Torah continues to describe in exquisite detail every aspect of the garments, first of the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, and then the garments of the Kohen Hadiot, the regular Kohen, the regular priest, as it were. So there's just this is so much beauty in what we just read. First of all, bring near to yourself Aharon, your brother. Bring your brother near to yourself. That's the first thing. That's the first thing that we're told. Bring your brother near to yourself. What a beautiful thing. What a beautiful instruction for all of us. We're all brothers. We're all sisters. Bring your brother near to yourself. Don't push away other people. Bring them near to yourself. Secondly, you clothe him. You make vestments of sanctity for Aaron, your brother, for glory and splendor. L'chavod v'tifa'aret, for glory and for splendor, or for honor and for splendor. We need to clothe our brother in glory and splendor. We need to perceive them in glory and splendor. Perceive them for what they are, children of HaShem, created in the image of HaShem. We need to do this for one another. We need to see one another in our best light. This is how we behave as brothers. And of course, what do we know? All the problems that occurred in the book of Genesis had to do with brothers not respecting one another, brothers pushing each other away instead of bringing each other near, brothers exhibiting jealousy and distrust and hatred toward one another. And it wasn't until the conclusion of the book of Genesis, when all the brothers of Yaakov were in Egypt and fighting over the youngest, Binyamin, before Yosef revealed his true identity to his brothers. And at that moment, we know that Yehuda stood up on behalf of all his brothers and said, "Nope, this has gone far enough. I am protecting my youngest brother, Binyamin, no matter what." And when Yosef saw that, he revealed who he was, because his brothers had basically done tshuva. They had repented. They had showed that they would not do what they had done to Yosef. They had learned their lesson. They now will stand up against all odds for their brother. And of course, that unity was carried on, that unity of brothers was carried on into the book of Exodus, when Moshe is first greeted by Aharon in Midian on his way back to Egypt. Hashem says, "Aharon, your brother, will greet you, and he'll be happy in his heart." He's not going to be jealous. Aaron's your older brother. And in fact, one explanation that our sages give us why Moshe was so reluctant to take on the job that Hashem was trying to give him to lead Israel out of Egypt was because he had an older brother. And he thought his older brother should have the job. His older brother was his older brother out of respect. He did not want to impinge upon the honor of his older brother. So he was very reluctant. So finally Hashem said, "Your older brother Aharon will meet you, he'll greet you, and he will be happy to see you." And in fact, we're told some verses later that Aharon did greet Moshe as Moshe was returning to Egypt, and they hugged and kissed, and that was that. Aharon had no problem with Moshe getting the role of a Moshiach, of the Redeemer, of the Savior of Israel. So these brothers got along. And sometimes, as we know, in the Hebrew, they're even addressed as one. As in, we'll say that God spoke to him, Aharon, Moshe and Aharon. Him, Moshe and Aharon, they're like one. So, this is the spiritual, ethical side. This is what was of anointing a Kohen Gadol, a Kohen, which is from the word lechachen, to minister to serve. Aharon was a brother among brothers. He may have been the prime brother, like prime minister, but he was a brother. He would represent all his brethren in the tabernacle, later the Mikdash, the holy temple, on behalf of all his brethren. He would represent them before HaShem. But he wasn't better, he wasn't bigger, he wasn't greater, he wasn't of a higher sanctity. In fact, one thing that we learn from these verses where it says, you shall make vestments of sanctity for Aaron and your brother and his sons to minister to me. The sanctity is in the garments. It is forbidden for a Kohen, let alone the Kohen Gadol, to be in the temple complex, without his bigdei kuna, without his priestly garments. He can't do the service without the priestly garments. Literally, clothes make the man. That's what we're learning here. Clothes make the man. And the man is every man, in that they are our brethren. And they are serving on our behalf, serving HaShem on our behalf. And the Kohen Gadol is the prime representative on our behalf. Now, the garments of the Kohen Gadol, and there are 8 separate garments referred to as the golden garments. And of course they're listed here. The breastplate, the choshen, an ephod. An ephod is the vest upon which the breastplate sits. A robe, a tunic, a turban, and a sash. How many do we have there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's also the avnet, the belt. And I'm not thinking of the other, but there are 8 different. There's also the pants, the michnasayim, machnes, that all the kohanim wear. But every aspect, every detail of the garments of the Kohen Gadol have significance, and every aspect is designed to enable atonement for a sin committed by Israel that is associated with that particular place upon the body of the Kohen Gadol, of the high priest, where that garment sits. For example, just one example, I'm going to give the tzitz, which is the golden crown that's on the forehead of the Kohen Gadol, which says Kodesh Lashem, holy to Hashem, is mechaper, is provides repentance, or allows the possibility of repentance for brazenness, because when we're brazen with it focuses in our forehead, our chutzpah, our nerve, our gall. And of course we have the breastplate with the 12 stones, and each stone represents one of the 12 sons of Israel, one of the 12 tribes. Each stone has a name of one of the sons engraved upon it, and they are carried on the heart, over the heart of the Kohen Gadol. And we read here in verse 29, chapter 28, verse 29, Aharon shall bear the names of the sons of Israel on the breastplate of judgment on his heart when he enters the sanctuary as a constant remembrance before HaShem. So he is literally carrying upon his heart, and also on his shoulders he has the names of the avot, of the patriarchs, and Israel. On his shoulders he's carrying them wherever he goes as a reminder to him that this is on whose behalf he is serving. And he goes wherever he goes, into the sanctuary, into the Kodesh. He goes before the incense altar. He goes to kindle the menorah. Goes before the showbread table, and certainly when he goes into the Kodesh HaKodeshim, into the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur, he is representing and has on his heart all the children of Israel, everyone, all of us. This is the tafkid, this is the job of Aharon and of subsequent high priests, of course. And following this description of all the garments of the kohanim, of the priests, we then read a very, very detailed description of the inaugural ceremony in which Aharon and his sons are sanctified. Now, right now, it's Aharon and 4 sons. And they need to be sanctified, as do their garments need to be sanctified. And many offerings are brought. And following the description of this ceremony, we read, this involves a lot of offerings. We read about the incense altar. Interestingly, the incense altar was not listed as one of the clay mikdash, as one of the vessels of the temple earlier, when all the other vessels, as the Aharon, the ark, the menorah, the showbread table, and the outer altar, and of course all the details of the tabernacle were all included in last week's parsha, and only now do we learn about the golden incense altar. Mizbeach HaZahav, the golden altar, or Mizbeach HaKtoret, the incense altar. And let's read in chapter 30, verse 1, "Ye shall make an altar on which to bring incense up in smoke of acacia wood shall you make it. Its length a cubit, and its width a cubit. It shall be square, and its height 2 cubits. From it shall its horns be. You shall cover it with pure gold, its roof and its walls all around, and its horns, and you shall make for it a gold crown all around. You shall make for it 2 gold rings under its crown on its 2 corners. You shall make on its 2 sides, and it shall be for housings for the staves with which to carry it. You shall make the staves of acacia wood and cover them with gold. You shall place it before the partition that is by the ark of the testimonial tablets, the ark of the covenant, in front of the cover that is on the testimonial tablets, where I shall set my meetings with you." Talking, of course, about the Aharon code, the Aharon Habrit, the ark of the covenant, from which HaShem speaks to Moshe. Now the altar, the golden altar, the altar of incense, is set directly opposite, facing the place where the ark rests, but of course there's the parochet between them, the curtain that separates the Kodesh from the Kodesh HaKodeshim, from the sanctuary from the Holy of Holies. So while you are burning the Ketoret, the incense, upon the altar, you are facing the Kodesh HaKodeshim, and you're seeing the parochet, the great curtain that covers the Holy of Holies. You shall place it before the partition that is by the ark of the testimonial tablets, in front of the cover that is on the testimonial tablets, where I shall set my meetings with you. Upon it Aharon shall bring the spice incense up in smoke. Every morning when he cleans the lamps, he shall bring it up in smoke. And when Aharon kindles the lamps in the afternoon, he shall bring it up in smoke. Continual incense before HaShem for your generations. You shall not bring upon it alien incense, or a burnt offering or meal offering, nor may you pour a libation on it. Aharon shall bring atonement upon its horns once a year from the blood of the sin offering of the atonements. Once a year shall he bring atonement upon it for your generations. It is holy of holy to HaShem. So the incense altar is exclusively used for the special Ktoret incense, which we'll be reading about later. All the ingredients and instructions for the Ktoret, and it's for the a Kohen. It doesn't have to be the Kohen Gadol. It doesn't have to be the high priest. In fact, in temple times, when they would have each morning a show of hands, I guess, on a raffle, they would sort of raffle off all the different jobs for the day. And one of the jobs they would raffle off was the incense offering, and it was considered to be such a precious, beloved, special offering to HaShem that in order that every Kohen could perform it at least once in their life, once a Kohen performed it, he would not be part of the raffle selecting the next Kohen to perform it. So you get to do it once in your life, unless you're the Kohen Gadol, and you can do it pretty much any time that you choose, I believe. But and the only other time, and the only other purpose that the incense altar, is used for is on Yom Kippur, when blood from atonement offering is sprinkled on its 4 kranot, on its 4 horns. And just today we posted 2 pictures on our Facebook page. One showing the Kohen Gadol offering incense on the golden altar, the painting, and a photo of one of our current kohanim who is during a practice of Yom Kippur ceremony performed by the kohanim of the Temple Institute, and he is sprinkling blood upon the horns of the altar that was the golden altar that was created by the Temple Institute. Now this, of course, is a perfect introduction for me to emphasize, as I did last week, that we are at this time of the year when we begin the Parashat Truma, which was last week, which talks all about building a mikdash, building a sanctuary for HaShem, and talks about everyone who has the spirit of generosity in their heart can be part of this great enterprise of building a house for HaShem, a place on earth where HaShem His presence can dwell. And so we emphasize all the work of the Temple Institute, that we've been describing the garments of the high priest, of the Kohen Gadol. Yes, we have recreated those garments in all their details, and there's also a photo of the garments of the high priest that the Temple Institute has created on our Facebook page today. And of course, if you go to our website, templeinstitute.org, there's a whole section on the garments of the Kohen Gadol, of all the Kohanim and the Kohen Gadol. And also there are, in the gallery section, there are beautiful photos of all the details of the garments of the high priest. This is what the Temple Institute does. This is how we keep busy. This is how we teach. This is how we teach by transferring, by sharing the knowledge, but also by example. Yes, these garments, as intricate and precise as they are, they can be recreated. That's what the instructions are for in the parshiot that we're reading. All these details, that's in order to instruct us how to make these things. And of course, there's much more back knowledge, let's say, than simply what is provided for in the Torah itself. The Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral Torah, fills in all the details, and so the Temple Institute, in order to recreate the garments of the Kohen Gadol, had to involve ourselves in so many different aspects. We had to involve ourselves in the dyeing of fabrics with the ancient dyes from the Tachelet, from the chilazon snail, and the argaman, also from the chilazon snail, and the tolat shani from the I think it's called the Kermit's worm. All these ancient dyes which had to be reproduced, and the garments had to be dyed. And even golden threads had to be created to be woven into the fabric of the ephod, as per instructions that we read in the Torah. And as far as the 12 breaststones, well, that would seem to be pretty easy because they're each given a name. But the Hebrew name that they're given doesn't necessarily correspond precisely to the names given them in translation. And the fact is that over thousands of years, and it's not an unusual thing, that something that's called a yahalom, which today is a diamond, might have been referring to a different stone at a certain period in time. So it was very, very difficult to really determine what precise stones were required. But with tremendous research, we were able to ultimately, yes, determine which stones are to be placed where. And all these details had to be researched, rediscovered, and then translated into ma'aseh, into the actual production of the garments, which basically is what the children of Israel are being told to do in these parshiot: translate Hashem's instructions into real products. Not so simple, but it's doable. And that's what the Temple Institute is about, showing that it's doable, teaching how it's to be done. And again, as I pointed out with the golden incense altar, we're also teaching kohanim, the descendants of Aharon and his sons, how to perform the service in the Holy Temple in preparation for the day, may it be soon, when we rebuild the Holy Temple. One last note before we close. I learned something very beautiful teaching over last Shabbat. Last week's Parsha, when Hashem tells Moshe, build for me a mikdash, a sanctuary, he begins to list all the vessels that go into the Mishkan, the Tabernacle, with the ark and the menorah and the showbread table and the altar. And only afterwards does he give the instructions for the tabernacle itself, for the building. It's a tent, but for the building itself. However, when we learn later, when Bezalel begins to create all these things, construct all these things, he starts with the tabernacle. You have to have a building to put the other vessels in. Why make the vessels until you have the building? Moshe questions God. He said, is this right? He sort of flipped the arrangement. Hashem said, perfect. I gave you the instructions. He's in charge of making them happen, making them work. If he sees fit to build the tabernacle first, so be it. Hashem was very pleased by Bezalel's initiative. Here is the music. Thank you so much for being with me. Temple Talk.